again, it's Michelle from Tape and Twine and Tape and Twine Vintage. I'm here today to do a special craft with me, and it's a bit of a gift for you guys. So first of all, I'm using a new camera mount, and it's a little bit like delicate as far as like very responsive to my touching the desk. So I'm going to try very hard not to shake and cross my fingers that it's not really annoying. Okay, so let me jump right in. So as you know, I have a business, Tape and Twine Vintage, which resells paper ephemera. And I'm also a junk journaler and love to do all that mixed media stuff in my personal life. So I went to a ephemera auction and I saw this piece and I knew I had to buy it for you guys because I want to give you a little gift. So this is a Salesman Sample for a calendar, the type of calendar that a business would purchase and put their business name on top and then hand out to good customers. And then the customers would have the little calendar. This one is 1940. And they would hang it up and, be reminded of the business the whole year. So what I really loved about the Salesman Sample was the fact that, it's designed to go into a business and the salesman sells the business on the idea. So obviously it has the information, you put your name and address and blah, blah, blah there. On a beautiful art greeting calendar like this one, it will be seen and read daily for a full year. And then it says season's greetings, so you're going to hand it out in December. And on the back, it just talks about style numbers. This is style number 209. And just little things about ordering. So what happens is that the person ordering the calendar has two choices. They can do the choice of having the calendar this way with the printing in the calendar here, or they could order the calendar this way with the orientation this way and have the calendar switched with the writing up there. In this particular case, this is a this way calendar. So what I thought would be really neat is if we could recreate this and I could do a free printable and you guys could download it and then do the craft with me. So that's what I decided to do. And one of the reasons I really loved this Salesman Sample was because it came with 4 seasons worth of pictures. Now, I am unsure of whether or not the business buying this would just settle for one picture that they would choose, or whether or not it would actually come with the 4 pictures in the pocket. Now, I took this apart just to see, and this was glued down, so I don't know whether or not you had to choose one, but what I've decided to do in my printable is give you the piece for the calendar, give you the piece for the outside, and then I'm going to give you the winter piece first. And then in order to get this printable, you just need to sign up on my mailing list because I'm going to mail you the printable, the DigiKit. So what I'll do is every quarter I will send you an email with the next picture in it so that you can cut that out and stick that behind. And we'll be making it so that this is a pocket and it can be pushed down. So today what we're going to be doing is creating the actual calendar and working with the first picture. And then these two will come later. And just so you know, this printable will be available to free, this digi, to all of my followers and anybody else who wants it. You just have to go through my Tape and Twine personal Instagram or go to the Tape and Twine Vintage Facebook page, and I'll put the links below, and just click up to be on our mailing list, and then we will mail you the DigiKit or mail you a link to download the DigiKit. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to get it to you so that it's the right size for your email box or for a download. So anyway, the way that it's going to work is you'll have this for all this year, and then it gets a little better. I had Because it was a salesman's copy, if you wanted to do it this orientation, they had pictures that were that orientation. They had like these sweet little pictures. I mean, look how cute that is. And they had a dog set. So I have all of those. So this is something I can continue to do for years to come. So this year we're just going to do the scenery, and I think the scenery is really pretty. And like I said, there'll be a winter. Let's see if I can get that. There'll be a winter. There's going to be a spring, a summer, and then this fall picture. You got that? So you'll be able to change them out, which I thought was really sweet. And unlike the Salesman Sample, I'm not going to put my business name all over it. I don't think that's necessary. And I'm actually going to design this just a little bit differently. So let me put this away now that you've seen what the inspiration is. And I'm going to show you the DigiKit. So the DigiKit comes in 2 pieces. Let me grab the other piece. Okay. So what you'll receive is a DigiKit scanned from the original piece, and it's going to be the front piece as well as the picture. And what I decided to do was look up what other vintage years follow the same year as 2020. And what I found out is 1964, 1936, and 1908 are the same as 2020. So you have the option when you make your calendar of putting it as a 2020 calendar, or you can use one of these vintage years, but just know that the calendar is accurate for this year. Personally, I kind of like the idea of making it vintagey, but I also have another idea that I'm going to play with as well. So I do have a Compliments of Tape and Twine vintage box that you can choose to put on or not put on. That's totally fine with you. The only reason you might want to make sure you keep this is so that you can remember where you got it, and make sure you get next year's, or you know that you, if for some reason you weren't getting the next pieces, that you could contact me. So the second piece is the calendar piece, and basically what I have done is I've taken a piece of my own dyed paper that I dyed with tea, coffee, and blueberries, and I scanned that in, and then I made a calendar that reflected all the years that I just showed you. So this is what you're going to receive, and we are going to make this project today. So what are you going to need? Well, there's a few options, and I'm going to do the most basic option with you, but I'm also going to give you suggestions on ways that you could make it a little bit more fancy. And I would absolutely love if any of you do get this digi and make it, that you tag me, that you share. I'd love to see your interpretation of the Salesman Sample. I'm kind of obsessed with salesman samples right now of all sorts of different things, and I'd really love to see how you interpret it. So the basics that you're going to need are the printable, a piece of cardboard or cardstock that's going to be the back piece, an X-Acto knife or craft knife so that we can cut the center out, although I will give you a little tip on that as well. Obviously some scissors, some glue, some distress ink if you want. I'm going to use my grommets, and I'm going to use a vintage piece of fabric because I think I want to hang this, but you could, you know, just put a push pin through it on your bulletin board. So it's a very minimal process project. I'm hoping it won't take us too long, so let's dig in. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to cut the pieces out. So what I'm going to do, and you're going to hear it, is I'm going to go over to the cutting board and just simply cut these out quickly. I'll be right back. Okay, so I just cut the 2 basic pieces down first. I didn't actually cut the whole thing out on my cutting board for this one because I want to make sure I get all of the border on this, and sometimes I don't line up my cutting board just right. I'm not the most precise person in the world. Okay, so I have my picture. That's really all I need to do with that right now. And then I'm just going to trim this just a hair. Now, you have two choices. I'm trying to make this as easy and quick as possible for you. So if you want to go the really easy route, you don't even have to cut this out. You could simply glue this right on top. But then that does not allow you to then change it out. I mean, you could always glue again on top of it, but I don't really, you know, that's just a quick way if you wanted to do it that way. Or you could put it on with, I don't know, something that you could take it off, but that's just the quickie way. The way that I think that gives you the most longevity of the project is obviously to cut it. So I need to find my little cutting board. It's right in front of me. Here we go. And my ruler. And all I'm going to do, I really should be cutting this way, but I'm left-handed, so that's why it kind of stinks, because I'm not really cutting it properly. I'm going to actually use this one because I think I'll have better grip. I should be using the metal edge. See, I told you I'm not always the most precise. Okay, and we'll come down here. Oh, I went right off. And then here. And then here. Okay. So if you're like me and you just accidentally cut into some of your box, do not worry. Look at that. That's terrible. I think I need to do that over. Let's try this again. I'm going to try with this knife. Maybe this knife will be better. Yes, for some reason I have a lot more control over that knife. I don't know why. I just do. I think I can see better too over my thumb. Now I'm trying to get very close, but keep in mind we have distress ink that can also help if we need to get a little bit of white out. Okay, so that should pop right out. Like that. And my picture should fit right on, and it does. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so I don't forget, is I'm just gonna ink the inside edge, and that's just going to, number one, it'll give it a nice little age look, but it'll also hide any little bits of white that might still be there from cutting. Okay, good. And if you ever want to make a really nice dark edge, I think you probably already know this, you can just literally rub the pad on the edge of the paper, and that will even make a nice darker edge. Okay, so we're good. So that's the first piece. Now, if you want this to be a little bit stronger, which I'm thinking I may, I might put it on a piece of light cardstock. Or I might just do this piece on a piece of cardstock just to kind of firm this up. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'll be right back. I'm going to take a piece of washi tape, one that I don't use a lot. you're not going to see it, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to put it on the reverse side just to make sure that that edge has some durability. But I'm not going to put this on cardstock only because I really do want it to lay very tight against the cardstock it's going to be mounted on. And if I put it on a bulletin board or something like that, I don't want it to be that heavy. Not that cardstock is that heavy, but this is just my way of making sure that there's a little bit of durability to that frame. Okay, and I'm actually going to tape up here too a couple times because I want that edge to be pretty durable, because that's where the picture's going to be sliding in and out. Okay, so now all I have to do is take my scissors and trim that washi tape off. And if you already have a pair of sticky scissors, then it's great. Okay, so you don't see that washi tape, but that washi tape is just going to give a little bit more structure to that back piece, so that's good. Okay, so now we need to get a piece of cardboard. So I have a piece of cardboard here, and you can choose whatever color you want. I kind of like this gray. It kind of has that vintage look I'm looking for. I could also make it black. I'm going to cut it first and then decide. So, to make my life easier, because I'm all about making my life easier, I don't think I want to have it right to the edge. I want to have a little bit more than right to the edge. So I need a pencil, which might be the one thing I forgot to bring into this room with me. I'm sure there must be one in here. Okay, here's a pen. Okay, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of room, and I'm going to say that I want the edge right about there. And I want the edge right about there. Okay, I'm going to go cut that on my cutting board. Okay, easy peasy, 2 easy little cuts there. So now I look at it and it's perfectly the perfect size, I think. Now, do I like the gray? Let's just put this behind here so I can see. It's not going to be straight right away, but I'm just looking for colors. The gray's kind of nice with the snow, and then some of the other pictures are going to be gray's kind of nice. Let's see how black looks. I think I like the black. I'm going to stick with the black for now. We'll, maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. Okay, so I think the next step I need to do is decide how much I'm going to ink the edge. I think I'll ink the edge a little bit on here. And I hope you guys are doing well. It's been a long time since I've made a video. It's been, a very busy couple months with the holidays and getting the kids back to school, my son going back to college, my husband going back to work, and I'm just getting ready to get back into it. Diane and I have gone to a couple of great estate sales and picked up some really exciting things. So we're eagerly trying to fill the shop right now and make plans for next year. And I am personally got some exciting ideas for journals that I hope I'm going to have time to do very soon. Okay, so I think I still want a little bit of inking here. Okay, so now we need to glue it down. So remember, this is going to be a pocket, and we have a little bit of a border here, so let's see. If my border's just a little bit that way, let me hold it here so I can line it up. Then what I want to do is make sure that my glue is going to form the bottom of the pocket. Then I'm going to come over here, make sure I have enough space here to get that image in. And you want to try to be as neat as possible so that you don't stop the pocket from working. Now remember, don't glue up here because you need the item to go in up there. And then I will put the Fabri-Tac glue everywhere else. Now, like I said, my camera's mounted on a new system, and it seems to be very sensitive to any movement I make on the desk. So when I burnish this, I hope it's not going to make you sick, but I hope the movement won't be bad, so I'll try to make it as light as possible. But if this was on my other desk, I would definitely be pushing pretty hard. So I'm going to take my bone folder. Oh, I don't like that I got glue there. Oh, don't you hate when that happens? And I'm getting glue places that I didn't want to get glue. One of the things I did notice, though, is that if you rub Fabri-Tac right away, you can sometimes get it right off. I'm going to do it over here so I don't make you sick, because the rubbing will make the desk move. See, if you rub it right away, you can sometimes get the whole thing off. It'll probably be covered anyway. And I don't mind a little mark. Okay. Oh, jeez, I'm so messy today. Okay, see, I'm a little far from perfect today. I'm not in my normal work area and it's throwing me off. Okay, so now we have our little pocket, and we're going to go to the next piece of our kit. So we're going to decide essentially how we're going to lay it out. And I'm going to cut out all the dates for now. But I think I'm leaning towards the oldest date, although this calendar doesn't look very 1908. It looks more 1936 than it does. And the calendar is going to be small, so I'm also thinking it might be fun to do both dates, one on each side, but we will see. Okay. So then these would go here, and then what we could decide is if we want to mount them on anything. I'm not going to make that decision yet. Okay, so now we're on this piece. So the calendar is centered in this box. It's centered this way and this way. However, these May and August go into the 5th week. Oh, actually, does March too? Yes. Actually, there's 6 columns for May and August. So that throws off your cutting measurements for the bottom piece. So I cut this a couple of times to try to figure out how to make it the easiest, and this is what I figured out. Cut the top off of the paper, cut the bottom off the paper. Now this is what makes the most sense to me. You might have a different way of doing it. Then stack them. So see, I ended up cutting them and stacking them. And as you can see, there's a couple that are longer because of that extra column. So then you can cut this off, and then cut these down the center, because this will be centered. And then you can trim whatever you feel you need to trim. And I did it 2 times, and it really wasn't that hard. Let me see if I can get my stack. Actually, let me cut this one for you. So here's my stacks now. I'm not going to use my cutting board for the last one, just so I can show you. So this and this should be the correct, if you go in the center of these guys, right? That should be pretty darn close to correct. Actually, the easiest way would probably be to measure the distance between the 2 columns. Actually, this would be the middle right here. So you can make a dot there. Dot there. Okay. So now I can just cut straight down and straight down. Now, this one is the most centered because this was the one that was right in the middle. So what you can do is line that up to this edge. And keep in mind there's a little bit of edge because the way that the calendar is made, there's always going to be a little bit of extra on each side. It's a 1-page calendar. I don't know if that makes sense, but it will once you're cutting it yourself. So see, this isn't like very difficult. Now, I'm just going to make sure those last weeks aren't going to be cut off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm just going to go to this right here. Okay, so that should be good. I should have had my clip in because it's splayed. Okay. Let me clear a little of this out. All right, so now I'm going to put these in order. February, December, February, March, April, July, November, October, September. I just saw August, July, June, May, April, February. Okay. So now we have this little tiny calendar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this up top here. But you could simply, if you're not using a sewing machine, just use a stapler and staple 1 to 3 staples, depending on how many you wanted to be there. So I'm going to go sew this and I'll be right back. Okay, can you see that I've sewn it? I don't know if you can see that, but there's the stitching right across. And what I did is, a little tip for you is when I'm sewing something that's on the thicker side, what I like to do is make my machine have the farthest stitch. In other words, like the biggest distance and the biggest stitch. That way it's going down the least amount of times. I did not backstitch this, so I'm going to tie off the strings just so that the use doesn't end up making the stitch come out. And then I'm going to snip those threads. I, for one, like a big planner calendar that I can write in, but by my desk, I love a little calendar just so that I can see days of the week and where things fall. I did so tie this. Oh, it tied on the front top. Okay. Okay. So I say okay a lot. I need to stop saying okay a lot. So now we have this piece. We have the little tiny calendar. I have my cutout years, I think. Here's one of them. Where did my 1936 go? Now you get to see what a scatterbrain I am. That's all right. It's not going to be a surprise to anybody who knows me. All right, I'm just going to do the 1908, I guess, on this one because I'm not sure where my 1936 went. And it doesn't really matter because this is just the sample of the sample. So I kind of like that centered. And I do want to probably just put a little bit of ink on my calendar edges too. I think that'll make them look a little vintagey and stand out a little bit more. I'm even going to do it here so that it goes on some of the bottom pages. Okay. So I have that and I have this. Now I think I really like that. So if you wanted to put the little compliments of tape and twine on there, let's see. I did it very, very light. I didn't want it to be in your face if you wanted to use this at all. I mean, of course I want the publicity, but I don't really need it. This is a gift, and gifts aren't supposed to be about any of that anyway. Okay, but I'm going to do it for mine because that's my little business. And like I said, it's very light. Okay, so I think what I would like to do is I could do two things. I could take a piece of the scan of my paper, which also matches the calendar, and I could make that the back. Or if I wanted to be consistent with this, I could put black paper back there, which might make it a nice little pop. So let me go grab a piece of black paper. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have a little bit of scrap black paper. And like I said, this is just the beginning to show you the process. I might do something a little bit fancier the next time I make this, but this is just the process of it to make it as easy as possible. I like to use the edges of paper only because I find it makes it, oops, this one has a little bit of white showing and that's going to drive me crazy. funny, I'm not really neurotic about many things, but we all have our little things that we fixate on, I guess. I'm just like not getting this date on correctly. Let me just deal with one at a time. Okay, so I'm going to do the 1908 there. And I find if you take your fingernail on the copy paper, sometimes you can make it come off a little bit and you can kind of distress it. Make it look a little older. And I might even want a curved edge. Maybe I don't. I don't actually like that. This is why I print extras for myself. Okay, let's start that. Again, I'm going to use 1936 on mine. And I'm going to use 2020. That way no one's confused that this calendar isn't correct. And it's important to be correct because this year is a leap year. Are any of you out there leap year babies? I always wonder if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I suppose when you get to be my age, it's a good thing because you can say you're only like, I don't know, I can't do the math in my head, but you're a lot younger than what you really are. Because you can say, oh, it's my, 15th birthday, or it's my 10th birthday. I guess that wouldn't be right, because your 10th birthday, I think you'd be 70. If I'm doing the math right. I think it's every 7 years. Okay. There's that okay. I had a nickel for every time I said okay on a video. I'm gonna cut these out. I'm terrible at straight lines though. I mean, epically terrible. Let me see if doing it on a straight edge might increase my chances of getting this correct. Of course, I'd have to have it straight, but most people would think scissors are easier, but not for the person who can't cut straight. All right, so I have my two pieces here, and then I have my little calendar here. So let's glue those on. First, I got to do my calendar. And yes, I should be measuring so that I get it dead set center. So it is 4 and it is exactly 5 inches. So 2.5 would be where I would glue it. I'm going to go kind of down. That way I can make a dot and it won't be seen. I know you can't see that, but I can see it. And I can see my metal dots. So what I'm going to do is take my Fabri-Tac and I'm going to give a generous gob on the back. I guess you would want to remake this every year. I guess you could put Velcro on this if you didn't want to, but I just think it's not that hard of a project to remake every year. Maybe you would want to put something different down for materials or colors or whatever it is. So I actually am not leaving any space for my tape and twine, but that's okay. So I have my little calendar in there. And now I can put in my years. So I'm going to move it up just a hair. Okay, so I'm going to use my glue stick for this because does anybody else have a problem with pushing? I think I put my glue up too high. It's just a terrible habit because then I get a glob of glue stick on there. I think I'm going to do the 2020 on this side. And I'm going to line it up with that line. That looks cute. Now I gotta find my little cutout of my Christmas thing, or my winter, not Christmas, and make sure that it's open enough to go in, which it better be, but if it's not, I can trim it. But I do want to make sure, I'm just going to use the flat end to make sure that that area is recessed enough. Sometimes that fabric tack travels, as you know. Let's slide that in. Oops. And this is why we reinforce that frame. Perfect. Okay, so now I want to put in 2 grommets. So I'm going to take my do it right on the corner there because I think that's kind of a cute place to have a grommet. If there's such thing as having a cute place to have a grommet. You know, only somebody like us would say something like that ridiculous. Okay. And then I'm going to, oh, you can hear my dogs. The postman must be close. Let's see what kind of grommets I want. Do I want silver? Do I want something a little bit more decorative, like a flower, a gold flower? No, I think I like it just very simple, but I might want something that's got more of a older look to it, like a brushed look to it, if I have any left. Let's see what I have left. I have that guy. Let's see if I can find a matching one. Okay, I think those are the same. And they are. So let's get him in there. Make sure my setting is correct. Squish it down. Remember, we don't want to impede the picture ever going in, so we want to make sure that that's on the corner. You could also do a little one there, but I don't like things being wiggly. And now I have to decide what I want to loop through here. I have this vintage seam binding, and then I found some black vintage seam binding too. Let's see what I can find. Oh, I also had this idea of twine, not that I do like the twine. I think I'm going to use the twine. The other thing with the twine too is you can pull that and make a knot in the front. But you could use sari silk, a pretty ribbon. The one I'm making, again, is super, super easy and not very fancy. I think that there's so many different ways you could make this fancy, but I just chose for the beginning one just to make about as basic as you could do. And then you can decide how much you want it to hang. I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to cut it there, and I'll pull it tight just so I can get the knot, make the knot easily. The other thing about the twine is you can make a nice big knot. And then it'll stay, it won't go through the grommet. Okay. So this is it. It's super basic, but I think it's really cute. I think it's very vintage. I don't know what that little piece is. I think it's very vintage. It would look really cute near your desk. Like I said, I will be sending out the other seasons, so once we get into springtime, we'll have like a lovely little springtime picture that will go in there. I'm not sure where I put it at the moment. So here's the finished project, and I think it's cute. I think it's a nice little vintage calendar that will look adorable near your desk or in a little space. And you know, it's very wintry here, but keep in mind in the spring we would change it out and have the spring picture in there. So it will change as the time comes, and then every month you can just simply rip this off or snip this off if you wanted to, just so that you have your next month on there. So we started out, excuse me, we started out with this cute little vintage Salesman Sample copy, and we interpreted that into this very basic, simple calendar that can hang with some twine right up there. And I chose to use the 1936 and the 2020 on this. Has a little bit of a masculine feel, very vintage with the colors. But again, this was the most basic way you could do it and the easiest way, just with the little grommets and the twine. But just to show you that once you have the digi, you can do so much with it. This is my other interpretation of it. This one is more of a pretty kind of a junk journal feel with textile up here, some lace here. I backed it on cardboard, but I put some vintage wallpaper on there. I did stitching. I stitched the digi template onto it, added some lace, glued some little, ephemera on there, a postage stamp and a ticket. I did some stamping. I backed the 1908 with some muslin and then just sort of frayed that. So, and this is a vintage piece of crochet or handwork that I liked the way that there was a hole there. I figured that would look really cute on a bulletin board with the thumbtack in it. So as you can see, just using that DigiKit, you could make it very simple and straightforward, or you could make it a little bit zhuzh it up. I took me less than an hour to make this beginning to end, and it's a great little project. It would make a terrific little gift. And I think you could make something this simple in even less time. So I hope you enjoyed that project. I hope that you will download it and tag me so I can see how you interpret it. And once you get on our mailing list, like I said, I will be sending you out the spring when it's spring and vice versa. Enjoy 2020, guys. I'm really excited about the things we have in store. And I hope you enjoy the little gift and have a great year.